Rodrigo Duterte is known for his blunt, unfiltered, and often explosive rhetoric, a style that has won him both fierce critics and loyal supporters. Among his most frequent targets? The Catholic Church, an institution deeply woven into the history, culture, and politics of the Philippines. With over 80% of Filipinos identifying as Catholic, one might assume that a sitting president would tread carefully when addressing the church. But Duterte did the exact opposite. He launched a series of tirades, insults, and even calls to action against Catholic leaders and doctrines, shocking the nation and the world. His remarks weren't just passing comments, they were often rooted in personal experiences, political battles, and deep-seated grievances. He accused priests of hypocrisy, challenged fundamental church teachings, and even urged Filipinos to abandon their faith. Some saw his words as a necessary wake-up call for reform within the clergy, while others viewed them as dangerous attacks that undermined a moral cornerstone of Filipino society. Whatever the case, his statements left an undeniable mark on church-state relations in the Philippines. Today, let's break down the top 10 most controversial tirades of President Duterte against the Catholic Church and the impact they had. Number 10. Threatening to expose bishops' secrets. In one of his most menacing statements, Duterte threatened to expose the alleged sins of Catholic bishops. In January 2019, he warned that he had a list of bishops who were engaged in immoral activities, saying, "If I release this, the Catholic Church will explode." His statement was seen as an intimidation tactic, especially against those clergy members who had been vocal in criticizing his administration. While some wondered if he really had such a list, others saw it as another attempt to discredit the church. The CBCP responded by saying that Duterte was trying to silence his critics by spreading fear and doubt. Number 9. Accusing the church of using donations for corruption. Another common theme in Duterte's tirades is his accusation that the church misuses donations. He claimed that religious institutions collect large sums of money from the faithful, yet many priests and bishops live comfortable lives while ordinary Filipinos struggle with poverty. He once challenged church leaders, saying, "If you're really for the poor, sell your land, give it to the people." This attack resonated with some sectors who had long criticized the church for its wealth and influence. However, church officials defended themselves, saying that much of their resources go to charitable projects, schools, hospitals, and aid for the needy. Despite this, Duterte's words left a lasting impact, making many Filipinos question how the church manages its funds. Number 8. Accusing priests of having affairs. Duterte repeatedly accused Catholic priests of being unfaithful to their vows. He often alleged that many priests had secret families, mistresses, and even children, despite their vow of celibacy. In one speech, he said, "All priests have girlfriends. If they don't have a girlfriend, they're gay." This broad generalization outraged many members of the clergy, especially those who have dedicated their lives to their vocation. While cases of priests breaking celibacy do exist, Duterte's blanket statement undermined the credibility of all priests, including those who faithfully serve their congregations. His remarks also fueled distrust among ordinary Catholics, making them question the integrity of their spiritual leaders. Number 7. Calling saints drunkards and useless. Duterte also mocked Catholic saints, claiming that they were drunkards and useless figures who should not be venerated. In December 2018, during a speech in Malacanang, he questioned why Filipinos prayed to saints instead of directly to God. He sarcastically said, "Who are these saints? They were just drunkards, womanizers. Why would I listen to them?" His statement was a direct challenge to one of the most deeply held Catholic traditions, the veneration of saints. For many Filipinos, saints are role models of faith, intercessors who inspire devotion. By mocking them, Duterte further widened the gap between himself and the church. However, some of his supporters agreed, saying that Filipinos were too focused on religious icons instead of developing a personal relationship with God. Number 6. Calling God stupid. Perhaps Duterte's most theologically explosive remark came in June 2018, when he called God stupid. He ridiculed the story of Adam and Eve, questioning why God would create humans only to let them fall into sin. He said, "Who is this stupid God? You created something perfect and then you think of an event that would tempt and destroy the quality of your work. This statement deeply offended many religious Filipinos. Even some of Duterte's supporters found it difficult to defend his words. The Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, CBCP, and other religious leaders condemned his remarks, calling them blasphemous. But Duterte stood by his statement, saying he was not attacking Christianity itself, just the doctrines that made no sense to him. Number 5. Encouraging Filipinos to leave the church. In November 2018, Duterte urged Filipinos to stop attending Mass and leave the Catholic Church altogether. He suggested that instead of going to church, people should build their own chapels at home and worship in private. He also mocked the concept of confession, saying that priests themselves were sinners, so they had no right to absolve others of their sins. This attack on Catholic practices was one of his most aggressive. He questioned long-held doctrines and traditions, arguing that they were outdated and irrelevant in modern society. While some Filipinos dismissed his comments as just another one of his anti-church rants, others were genuinely influenced by his words, with some even claiming that they had stopped going to church because of him. Number 4. Personal trauma, allegations of abuse. Duterte has often linked his antagonism toward the church to his own childhood experiences. He claimed that as a young student at Ateneo de Davao, a Jesuit-run school, he was sexually abused by a priest. He recounted how a priest would fondle him and other classmates, a traumatic experience that left him with deep resentment toward the clergy. This revelation complicated the discussion. While some people sympathized with him, others criticized him for using his personal trauma to justify his sweeping attacks against the entire Catholic Church. Many pointed out that while cases of abuse within the clergy were real and must be addressed, not all priests were guilty. Nonetheless, Duterte's personal experience became one of the key reasons why he remained unapologetic in his tirades against the church. Number 3. Kill those useless bishops. In December 2018, Duterte made one of his most alarming statements against the Catholic Church. In a speech, he called bishops useless fools, and went as far as to say, kill them. Those bishops, kill them. They are good for nothing. His remark, though likely exaggerated, sent shockwaves throughout the religious community, raising concerns for the safety of church leaders who were vocal critics of his administration. The Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, CBCP, responded with a strong condemnation, saying that Duterte's words could encourage violence against clergy members. Despite the outrage, Duterte did not issue a formal apology. Instead, he continued his verbal attacks on religious figures, arguing that the church had long used its influence for political and financial gain. Number 2. Accusations of hypocrisy. Throughout his presidency, Duterte frequently labeled the Catholic Church as the most hypocritical institution in the country. He accused bishops and priests of preaching morality while engaging in corrupt and immoral activities themselves. He often brought up cases of sexual abuse within the clergy, corruption in church-run institutions, and the extravagant lifestyles of some religious leaders. His harshest criticisms came when the church openly opposed his bloody war on drugs, which resulted in thousands of extrajudicial killings. Several bishops and priests denounced the administration's policies, leading Duterte to retaliate with even more attacks. He claimed that many clergy members were guilty of their own sins, from sexual abuse to corruption, implying that they had no moral authority to criticize him. While some saw his tirades as offensive, others believed he was exposing real issues that needed reform within the church. Number 1. Pope, you son of a. One of Duterte's first major controversies involving the Catholic Church happened even before he was president. In November 2015, during a speech announcing his presidential candidacy, Duterte recounted how he had been stuck in heavy traffic for hours during Pope Francis' visit to Manila. In his frustration, he blurted out, "Pope, you son of a b, go home. Do not visit us again." The comment shocked many Filipinos, as insulting the Pope was unheard of in a predominantly Catholic country. The backlash was immediate. Even some of Duterte's allies were taken aback. However, instead of backing down, he defended his statement, saying his frustration was aimed at the poor traffic management rather than the Pope himself. Days later, he sent a letter of apology to the Vatican, explaining his remarks. Interestingly, despite the controversy, his popularity did not wane. Many saw his candid approach as a sign that he was willing to speak the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it was. Duterte's verbal assaults on the Catholic Church were unprecedented in Philippine history. No other president had attacked the faith so openly and aggressively. His words challenged the influence of the Church, caused divisions among the faithful, and made some Filipinos reconsider their relationship with religion. But despite his relentless tirades, the Catholic Church remained strong. In fact, many bishops, priests, and lay leaders took Duterte's attacks as a call to renew their mission, pushing for reforms within the Church while continuing to speak out for justice, human rights, and the dignity of every person. The faith of the Filipino people has withstood many challenges throughout history, and Duterte's presidency was just one of them. In the end, the Church continues to stand firm in its mission, to be a voice of truth, a refuge for the oppressed, and a guide for the faithful. And that wraps up our deep dive into Duterte's most controversial tirades against the Catholic Church. What do you think? Did his words expose real issues, or were they unwarranted attacks against an institution that has shaped our nation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about the history of the Church and its role in society, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Ka Sasayan at Simbahan. See you in the next episode.